Husband files secret divorce and emptied $400 million joint account, unaware his wife outplayed him. Hello family, welcome back. Please do well to subscribe, and let's know where you are watching the story from in the comments section. Michael Warren woke before the alarm. His eyes opened to the dim grey of early morning, and he knew exactly what day it was. This was the day he disappeared. He lay still for one more breath. One breath to mark the end of his old life. One breath to steady his nerves. He could almost feel the weight of the suitcase in his hand, the soft thud of private jet stairs under his shoes, the cool rush of being nobody in an airport lounge where nobody asked questions. From the kitchen came a soft sound. Humming. Samantha's humming. It floated down the hall like a ribbon, light and sweet and horribly out of place. She only hummed when she was calm. Michael wasn't calm. Not today. He rolled out of bed, pulled on a crisp shirt and checked the time. 6:42 a.m. He had promised. He felt a sting of shame and swept it away. Don't get sentimental, he whispered to himself. You gave her everything. She still wanted more. He walked into his office. Mahogany desk, neat stacks of folders, a locked drawer in the center. His passport was there. It had to be there. He had checked last night, hadn't he? He pulled a small key from the inner pocket of his jacket, slid it into the lock and turned it. The drawer opened with a soft glide. He stared down. Empty. He blinked once, twice. There were pens, a stapler, the spare office key, but no blue passport, no sealed envelope with his second passport either, the one for emergencies. His mouth went dry. He closed the drawer slowly and opened the second. Receipts, not what he needed. The third drawer. Stationery, the bottom file cabinet. Nothing. Okay, he said under his breath. Don't panic. He checked the safe in the closet. He spun the dial. The safe swung open. Jewelry boxes, his. Grandfather's coin set, a stack of contracts, a hard drive labeled archive. No passport. His phone buzzed again. Another message from the driver. Traffic building. Should we move? He typed, stand by. He inhaled and walked back into the hall. Samantha's humming rose and fell with the electric grinder. He hated that sound today. He hated how normal it was. He stopped at the threshold of the kitchen. She stood in a soft grey robe, hair in a loose knot, pouring water over the coffee grounds like she was performing a ceremony. She looked up and smiled like she had seen him every morning for 20 years, which she had. Morning, she said. Morning, he answered. His voice came out tight. Coffee? She asked, tilting the carafe in a small, kind gesture. Not now. He leaned on the doorframe. Have you seen my passport? She blinked, slow and blank. Your passport? Yes. He forced a laugh he didn't feel. Blue book. United States. I keep it in my desk. She held his gaze a second longer than normal. Then she turned back to the kettle. You don't usually ask me to find things you keep locked, she said. Well, it isn't where I keep it, he said. Did you move anything? Cleaning? Maybe Maria put it somewhere? Samantha poured coffee into a white mug and slid it toward him anyway. Maria didn't come yesterday. She's sick. You know that. He hadn't known. He realized he hadn't asked. He realized a lot of things at once and decided none of them mattered. So you haven't seen it? I haven't touched your office, she said. You don't like me in there. I don't like anyone in there, he said. He worked to keep his voice calm, conversational. Sam, this is urgent. Is it? She asked softly. He didn't like that question. Yes, I have a last-minute trip. She nodded like the word tasted interesting. Trip. Samantha, he said, stepping into the kitchen now, letting the smell of coffee hit him like a warm glove. This isn't the morning for what? She turned to him with the mug in her hand. Her eyes were clear, bright. For conversation? For a favor? For me to be helpful, even though you prefer I don't touch your things? He stared. The clock on the microwave clicked from 6:49 to 6:50. The sound was razor sharp. "I'm asking you a simple question," he said. "Have you seen my passport?" She took a sip, then set the mug down. "No." He waited for more. There was no more. Just that one word sitting on the counter between them like a stone. "Okay," he said. He forced a smile he used for boardrooms and bad press. "If you see it, please let me know." "I will," she said. Her smile didn't move. He turned and walked back to his office, pulling out drawers faster now, tossing pens, flipping files. The calm rhythm of his plan broke. An edge entered his breathing. He opened boxes he hadn't touched in years. He checked coat pockets. He looked under the rug even though he knew how stupid that was. He opened a leather folio. Nothing. He opened a book, thumbed the pages like he might have hidden it there because once, long ago, he had hidden cash that way in college. He was not in college anymore. He was a grown man with a private jet and a missing passport. His phone buzzed again. Not the driver. A new message from his attorney, Victor Grady. Everything filed. No notification to spouse will go out until after hearing. Call me from the car. He could breathe again for half a second. The plan still lived. He just needed that one small blue book. He dialed Victor anyway. "I can't find my passport." There was a pause on the line. "Morning to you, Michael." "I can't find it," Michael said. "It was in my desk last night." "You sure?" "Yes." "Do you think Samantha—" "I don't know what she knows," Michael snapped, then softened. "I don't think she knows anything. She's making coffee." Victor's voice flattened with focus. "You have a backup passport. It's not in the safe. Check the travel pouch. It's not there." "Michael, breathe. You have 30 minutes. Worst case, we delay the jet and you use a temporary travel document." "I'm not walking into an embassy today," Michael said. "I'm walking onto a plane." Victor lowered his voice. "Then find it. Call me in 10. The call ended. The office thickened with his heartbeat. He went to the guest room. He went to the library. He went to the laundry room and sifted through a basket of clean clothes that smelled like lavender and panic. He moved like a man tracing the shape of a dream slipping away. He came back to the kitchen. Samantha. She didn't turn. "Yes? You're sure you haven't seen it?" She faced him then, leaning on the counter with both hands. "Michael, what's going on?" He considered lying. He considered the easiest thing. Business trip, deal overseas, client wants FaceTime. He had used those words 100 times, and they worked because they were boring and true enough. Today they wouldn't work. Today his eyes would give him away. "It's work," he said anyway. "I have to leave. It's urgent." "Leave where?" she asked. "For how long?" "I don't know." She looked at him like she was picking up a puzzle and trying to decide where the corner pieces were. "You don't know?" "Sam," he said, putting his hands on the counter, steadying himself against the stainless steel edge. "If you moved my passport, tell me." "I'm not asking for a fight. I just need it." "I didn't move it," she said. "I haven't touched it. I haven't touched anything in your office since you told me not to touch anything in your office." He closed his eyes. He heard the microwave click to 6:57. The driver messaged again. "We need to go by 7:15 to make runway slot." He typed, 2 minutes. He went back to the office, stared at the desk, and then a thought hit him like a flashbulb. The nightstand. He opened his nightstand drawer. Books, earplugs, a sleep mask. No passport. He opened Samantha's nightstand and something inside him recoiled at the intrusion, even now. In her drawer, a small notebook, a pen, a tube of hand cream, neatly folded tissues, a rosary she never used but kept because her grandmother had given it to her. No passport. He opened the closet again, pushed aside his suits, reached up to the top shelf. Boxes of old photos. A shoebox labeled Receipts 2014. He pulled it down anyway and spilled the contents on the bed. Nothing he needed. As he shoveled the receipts back into the box, he caught his reflection in the dresser mirror. His jaw was tight. His eyes were wide in a way that made him look younger and meaner. He didn't like the man staring back. He barely recognized him. He called Victor again. "It's gone." "Then get to the airport. We'll figure it out." "You tell me to show up at a private terminal without a passport. They'll laugh me off the tarmac." "You have resources. Use them," Victor said. "But Michael, if you think Samantha knows something, this is not the time to push her. Keep it clean." Michael laughed, a short, hard sound. "Clean ended last night." Victor fell silent. "Understood. Call me when you're in the car." Michael hung up and returned to the kitchen. "Samantha, I'm going to look in the hall closet." "Help yourself," she said. He opened the closet, hands moving on their own, checking every coat and jacket, every pocket, even the small velvet gift bag from a jewelry store that didn't exist anymore. He could hear Samantha behind him, the small clink of her spoon against the mug, the soft exhale as she tasted her coffee. He turned. "If you see it, I'll tell you," she said. "Of course." He nodded and walked past her. He smelled the perfume she wore on calm days, not on special nights. He hated that detail. On his phone, a new message popped up from an unknown number. Reminder, account verification code 613992. Do not share. He stared. He hadn't requested a code. His throat tightened. He set the phone face down like it had bitten him. Samantha watched him do it. "Everything okay?" "Yes," he said too quickly. She lifted a brow. "You look pale." "I need air," he said, and stepped onto the back patio for 5 seconds. That did nothing. He came back inside, checked the office for the 5th time, opened the same drawers like they would magically generate a passport out of pity. He stopped finally in the doorway, and his eyes adjusted to the room he knew better than any room in his life. His desk, the rug, the bookshelf, the framed degree, the photo of him shaking hands with a governor whose name he barely remembered. He scanned for a small change, any sign that something had been touched. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. He went back to the kitchen. Samantha was rinsing her mug. The water ran steady. "Sam," he said, and his voice came out quieter now, like a man at a hospital asking for news. "Please, if you know where it is, say so." She turned off the faucet and dried her hands with a dish towel, slow and neat. "I told you, I haven't seen it." They stood there, 6 feet apart, married and not married, honest and not honest, and something invisible pressed between them like glass. The doorbell rang, a bright, cheerful tone that didn't belong to their morning. Michael flinched. Samantha didn't. He checked the time. 7:11. "Your driver?" she asked. "He doesn't ring," Michael said. His driver texted. He never touched the doorbell. Michael felt a chill start at the base of his spine and move up. "Stay here," he said. He walked toward the front door, the hardwood cool under his feet through thin socks. He looked through the peephole. 2 uniformed police officers stood on the porch. His heartbeat didn't speed up. It stopped. Then it slammed into motion again. Too loud, like it had been waiting for this. He didn't open the door. He turned his head, looked back down the hall. Samantha stood where he had left her, one hand on the counter, face unreadable from this distance. She tilted her head, asking a question with her eyes. The doorbell rang again, followed by a firm knock. A voice called out, clear and steady. "Police! Mr. Warren, we need a moment." Michael swallowed and opened the door a few inches, enough to put his face in the gap. "Officers, is there a problem?" The taller one held up a folded paper. "We have a warrant to speak with you about some financial concerns. May we come in?" Michael's eyes flicked to the paper, then to the street, then back to their faces. He forced his mouth into a shape that looked polite. "This isn't a good time." "It's a necessary one," the officer said. His tone was courteous, not friendly. "We won't take long." Behind Michael, The house smelled like coffee and lemon polish and a life that was supposed to be over by now. He felt every second collapse into the next. "Give me 1 minute," he said, and closed the door softly. He turned and walked back to the kitchen on legs that felt hollow. Samantha hadn't moved. She watched him come closer like a person watches a wave approach the shore. "Police," he said. She blinked once. "Here?" "Yes." "Why?" "I don't know," he said, and even he heard the lie in his voice. He did know. He knew enough. Money made noise. Even when you moved it in the dark, it found a way to rattle. Samantha leaned a hip against the counter. "Do you need your passport for this too?" He looked at her hard. "Where is it, Samantha?" She didn't answer, not with words. Her eyes fell to his empty hands. Then she lifted her gaze and held him there, steady, strong, calm as a winter lake. The knock sounded again, firmer now. "Mr. Warren." Michael's phone buzzed on the counter. The driver, Victor. The unknown number again. The world crowded in. He took a breath. "I'll handle it," he said. He picked up his phone, slid it into his pocket, and straightened his shirt. He turned toward the hall and felt Samantha's eyes on his back like a spotlight. As he reached the foyer, he checked his reflection in the mirror by the door. He looked like a man who had never lost anything in his life. He looked like a man who couldn't imagine losing now. He opened the door. "If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we build hope and give future to children and women abused all over the world. Motivate us by subscribing to hitting the subscribe button and turning on your notification bell. Also, let us know in the comments where you are watching us from and how this story hit home for you." The knock on the door came again, harder this time. "Police! Mr. Warren, we need to speak with you." Michael froze. The sound filled the house like a siren. His mind flashed to the driver waiting outside, the private jet, the $400 million now sitting in an offshore account, and the passport he still couldn't find. Samantha stayed in the kitchen, calm, leaning against the counter. She didn't even look toward the door. That alone made his stomach twist. He took a long breath, straightened his shirt, and opened the door halfway. 2 uniformed officers stood there, one tall with sharp eyes, the other shorter but solid, both wearing the serious faces of people who weren't here for neighborly conversation. "Mr. Michael Warren?" the taller one asked. "Yes," Michael replied, keeping his voice even. The shorter officer spoke. "Sir, we have a few questions about some recent financial transactions. Could we come inside?" Michael's mind raced. If they saw his packed office or started asking about travel, it would all unravel. "What's this about?" The taller officer handed him a folded paper. "We have a warrant to discuss certain wire transfers from accounts registered to you." Michael unfolded it. There it was, legal print, his name, and a list of numbers he instantly recognized as belonging to his companies. But the amounts listed made his chest tighten. They were much bigger than the funds he had moved last night. Someone had inflated them. Someone had made them look criminal. And he knew exactly who that someone could be. "I think there's been a mistake," Michael said, forcing a smile. "That's why we'd like to talk," the officer replied, stepping forward slightly. Michael hesitated, glancing over his shoulder. "Fine, the living room's this way." The officers followed him inside. Samantha still stood in the kitchen doorway, sipping coffee. Her face was soft and polite, but her eyes locked on him with something else, something quiet and dangerous. One of the officers nodded to her. "Ma'am, do you know anything about your husband's travel plans?" "Travel plans?" she repeated, tilting her head like she was thinking hard. "We haven't discussed any, but he has been a little on edge lately." Michael turned to her, his voice sharp. "Sam," she shrugged. "Just being honest." The taller officer spoke again. "Sir, we've confirmed a jet under your name is scheduled to depart from the Westlake airfield in about 45 minutes. Is that correct?" Michael almost laughed, but it came out thin. I didn't book that. My company handles a lot of travel. Sometimes my name gets used for scheduling. The officers exchanged a look that told him they didn't buy it. Mr. Warren, the shorter officer said, we'd like you to come with us to answer some questions downtown. You're not under arrest, but this is important. Michael's heart thudded. If he left now without finding his passport, his plan was dead. He'd be stuck, and every hour away from his accounts would give whoever moved that money more time to bury it. I have an important meeting, he said, trying to keep control of the conversation. If we can set a time later. Sir, the taller officer cut in. This isn't optional. The words landed heavy. The game had shifted. Michael swallowed, then said, let me get my coat. The shorter officer followed him to the hall closet. Michael slipped his coat off the hanger, fingers running through the pockets, searching for something, anything, nothing, no passport, no documents. From behind him came Samantha's voice, sweet as sugar, but with an edge. Make sure you take everything you need. Michael froze for half a second. She was enjoying this. He could hear it in the way she lingered on the words. He turned, meeting her eyes. She was still leaning on the doorway, her coffee cup held with both hands, looking completely relaxed. She didn't have to say it. She was telling him silently, "You're not going anywhere." The taller officer stepped closer. "Ready, sir?" Michael nodded slowly. "Yeah, let's get this over with." As they walked to the door, Samantha called out, "Michael?" He turned. "What?" "You left your phone on the counter." He looked. There it was, screen down, exactly where he'd set it earlier. He picked it up, remembering the strange verification code text from an unknown number. Whoever sent it might still be inside his accounts, or maybe they were already gone. "Thanks," he said flatly, slipping it into his pocket. The officers opened the door, and the cold morning air slapped him in the face. His driver was still idling at the curb, staring straight ahead. One of the officers pointed toward a black sedan parked behind their cruiser. "We'll take ours." Michael stepped out, the weight of the moment pressing into his chest. Behind him, just before the door closed, Samantha's humming started again. Low, smooth, satisfied. It was the same tune she'd been humming all morning. Only now Michael realized it wasn't just coffee she'd been brewing. The black sedan smelled faintly of leather and cold air. Michael sat in the back, an officer beside him, another in the front passenger seat. His hands weren't cuffed, but the lack of metal around his wrists didn't feel like freedom. The car moved smoothly through morning traffic. The city looked normal outside the window. People walking dogs, coffee shops opening, joggers with earbuds. No one knew he was sitting here, a man whose life was seconds from cracking wide open. He checked his phone. No calls from Victor, his attorney. The driver hadn't texted again, but there was another code message from the same unknown number. Account verification, 840177. Do not share. The offshore account. It was being accessed right now. He texted Victor quickly. "Someone's in the account. Get on it now." The message showed sent, but no reply came. At the station, they didn't put him in a holding cell. Instead, they led him into a small, windowless interview room. A table, 3 chairs, and a faint hum from the overhead light. The taller officer set a recorder on the table. "Mr. Warren, we're going to ask you a few questions regarding suspicious transfers from your corporate accounts." Michael leaned back in his chair. "I've already told you. Whatever you think you saw is wrong. I run a global company. Money moves every day." The officer didn't react. "These transfers happened between 11:42 p.m. and 1:15 a.m. last night. Millions. Several went to an overseas account ending in 27. Do you know that account?" Michael kept his face still. "No." The officer slid a document across the table. "That's interesting, because this account is registered under your name. It also happens to match the account you opened 2 years ago in the Caymans." Michael's heartbeat thumped in his ears. "Then maybe someone stole my information." "That's possible," the officer said. But we also have evidence the transfers were made from your home IP address. Michael almost laughed. You think I'd be stupid enough to move that kind of money from my own house? The shorter officer finally spoke. People in a hurry make mistakes. Michael leaned forward. Let me save you time. If you think you've got a case, charge me. If not, I'm walking out. The taller officer smiled faintly. Oh, you're free to walk. But before you go, there's something you should see. He left the room for a moment. Michael sat tapping his fingers on the table, trying to push down the cold coil of dread tightening in his gut. When the officer returned, he carried a clear evidence bag. Inside was a familiar blue booklet. His passport. Michael's eyes locked on it. Where did you get that? Found this in a locked compartment in your wife's bedroom closet. He felt a drop of heat behind his eyes. Samantha. She had it the whole time. The shorter officer tilted his head. Why would your passport be hidden in your wife's closet? Michael stayed silent. Every possible answer would only dig the hole deeper. They let him go after another hour of questions that went nowhere. No charges yet, but they took copies of his devices, including his work phone. His personal phone stayed in his pocket, but the weight of it now felt like a brick. Outside the station, Victor was waiting in his car. Michael slid into the back seat and slammed the door. Tell me you stopped the transfer. Victor's face was pale. I tried. The account's been emptied. Michael's chest tightened. What do you mean, emptied? Gone. All 400 million. Whoever got in cleaned it out in multiple splits, 6 different destinations. By the time I traced the first one, the money was already layered through 3 shells. Michael's mind raced. How long before we can get it back? Victor didn't answer. He just looked at him. Michael, this wasn't random. They had everything. Your logins, your verification codes. That doesn't happen by accident. Michael stared out the window, jaw locked. He knew exactly what Victor was saying without saying it. She's been planning this, Michael said quietly. Victor didn't disagree. If she's behind it, she started long before last night. Michael saw it all now. The calm, the humming, the missing passport. The way she never once asked where he was going. She hadn't been caught off guard. She'd been waiting for this exact day. Victor cleared his throat. Do you want to go home? Michael shook his head slowly. Number, I want to see her on my terms. But deep down, he knew, when he saw her next, the game would already be over. The house was quiet when Michael returned. Too quiet. It was late afternoon now, sunlight spilling through the wide windows, casting long shadows across the polished floors. Samantha's car was in the driveway. She was home. Michael stepped inside and closed the door softly. No humming this time. No clink of coffee cups, just stillness. He found her in the living room, sitting on the white sofa with a book in her lap. She didn't look up right away. When she finally did, her face was calm, as if she'd been expecting him all day. You're back, she said. Michael walked to the center of the room. Where is it? Her brow lifted slightly. Where's what? The money. His voice was low, sharp. 400 million, don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. Samantha closed her book and set it on the coffee table. If I did know, why would I tell you? He took a step closer. Because if you don't, You'll what? She interrupted, her tone steady. You'll call the police. They were here this morning. Or maybe you'll tell your attorney. He's probably wondering why you didn't notice I'd been watching your accounts for months. Michael's chest tightened. Months? Yes, she said. Do you think I didn't see the late-night phone calls? The private trips? The little shell companies? You weren't half as careful as you thought. He stared at her, trying to find a crack in her expression. There was none. I moved the money, she said plainly. Every dollar, legally. That's impossible. Not when your husband gives you power of attorney, she said, smiling faintly. Remember, that? You were in such a rush to close that property deal 3 years ago, you signed anything I put in front of you. Michael's stomach dropped. He remembered. You played me, he said. She leaned back on the sofa, crossing her legs. Number, I survived you. There's a difference. He clenched his fists. Where is it? She tilted her head as if deciding whether to answer. Safe. Let's just say. It's in better hands now. You won't be able to touch it no matter how many lawyers you hire. By the time you trace it, the trust will be locked, and you won't even meet the board controlling it. He felt the fight drain from him. You think you've won. Samantha's smile widened, but her voice stayed calm. Michael, the moment you thought you could leave me without a word, you'd already lost. They sat in silence for a long moment, the tension thick in the air. Finally, Samantha picked up her book again. You should pack your things, she said without looking at him. Before I decide. You can't keep those either. Michael stared at her one last time, searching for some trace of the woman he'd once thought he could outsmart. But all he saw was the truth. She had been playing a longer game, and she had won. He turned and walked toward the door, each step heavier than the last. Behind him, her voice floated out, calm and certain. Betrayal's a two-way street, Michael. You just picked the wrong lane. Moral. Those who plot in secret often forget. The other side can plan too. And sometimes the real trap isn't sprung when you think it is.